The storage locker can be adjusted in accordance with the height of your car bonnet, or highest point of the car that will be underneath the storage locker. Measure the distance from the ground to the highest point of your car bonnet. Add 100 mm to this measurement as a safety gap. Lay out all components and check them against the components section of the installation guide. Carefully unpack the leg components. Confirm the correct hole in the leg to be used, using the measurement of the highest point of the car bonnet plus 100 mm. Fasten 2 M8 bolts and nuts through the bottom holes of an upper leg and into the holes of a lower leg. Slide a corner bracket down the upper leg and align with second to top holes. Fasten with 2 M8 bolts and nuts through the holes of the corner bracket and into the holes of the upper leg. Fasten 2 M8 bolts and nuts through the upper holes of the lower leg and into the holes of the upper leg. Confirm the distance from the bottom of the leg assembly to the corner bracket is more than the height of your car bonnet plus 100 mm. Tighten all M8 bolts and nuts. Repeat leg assembly for the 3 remaining legs. Lay the top panel upside down on the floor. Align the hinge bracket ends with ends of the top panel extrusion. Fasten the hinge brackets to the top panel using 2 Phillips screws at both ends. Position the left panel onto the top panel. Fasten the left panel to the top panel using 2 Phillips screws. Fit one of the leg assemblies onto the front corner of the left panel. Loosely fasten an M8 bolt and nut through the corner bracket and into the left panel. Fasten the leg assembly to the left and top panel using 6 Phillips screws. Fit one of the leg assemblies onto the rear corner of the left panel. Loosely fasten an M8 bolt and nut through the corner bracket and into the left panel. Fasten the leg assembly to the top panel using 2 Phillips screws, only at the end of the leg. Repeat the left panel assembly steps for the right panel assembly. The storage locker must be flipped over 180 degrees so that the legs are on the ground. The hinge brackets must be facing the front of the storage locker when it is flipped. If necessary, rotate the storage locker 180 degrees so that the front of the storage locker will be facing the car park opening once flipped. Lift the storage locker upright. Follow safe lifting practices during this step. Fit the rear panel inside the assembly from the front. The rear panel sits against the rear of the side and top panels. Fasten the rear panel to the top panel from the inside of the assembly using 2 Phillips screws. Fasten the rear panel to the top and side panels using 8 Phillips screws. Move the assembly close to where it will be installed. Ensure there is at least a 1 metre gap so the back of the rear panel can be accessed. Remove the 4 M8 bolt and nuts from the left and right side panels and corner brackets. Slide the floor panel into the assembly from the front. The floor panel sits up against the rear panel. Ensure the rear and side panels are pushed hard up against the floor panel. Fasten the floor panel to the rear and side panels using 10 Phillips screws. Two shelf panels are provided which can act as shelves or dividers. For shelf panels used as dividers, align the shelf panels with the pre-existing pilot holes in the top panel and floor panel. Line up the pilot holes in the shelf panel with the pilot holes in the floor panel to ensure correct positioning. Fasten 2 Phillips screws through the holes of the shelf panel and into the pilot holes in the floor panel. Line up the pilot holes in the top panel to ensure the shelf is square. Fasten 2 Phillips screws with rubber washers through the holes of the top panel and into the shelf panel. If using the shelf panel as a shelf, install 1 shelf panel as a divider. The folded side must be facing the direction that the shelf will be installed. Line up the pilot holes in the shelf panel with the pilot holes in the floor panel to ensure correct positioning. Fasten 2 Phillips screws through the holes of the shelf panel and into the pilot holes in the floor panel. Line up the pilot holes in the top panel to ensure the shelf is square. Fasten 2 Phillips screws with rubber washers through the holes of the top panel and into the shelf panel. To prevent water from entering the storage locker, Phillips screws with rubber washers must be fastened through all 4 holes in the top panel, regardless of configuration. Fit the shelf panel horizontally into the assembly, ensuring the tab of the shelf panel fits into the slot in the divider. Rest the rear corner of the shelf panel on the existing Phillips screws. Align the holes of the shelf panel with the holes in the upright shelf panel. Fasten 3 Phillips screws through the divider and into the shelf panel. Remove the 2 Phillips screws from the rear left leg assembly. Align the shelf panel with the corner holes. Fasten the original Phillips screws through the leg and into the shelf panel. Finish securing the shelf panel with a final Phillips screw through the side panel. Remove the M8 bolt and nut from the front leg assembly so the leg brace can be installed. Hand tighten the M8 bolt and nut through the end hole of the leg brace and into the hole of the leg assembly. Hand tighten one M8 bolt and nut through the end hole of the leg brace and into the hole of the floor panel. Hand tighten one M8 bolt and nut through the corner bracket and into the base panel. Remove the M8 bolt and nut from the rear leg assembly so the leg brace can be installed. Hand tighten the M8 bolt and nut through the end hole of the leg brace and into the hole of the leg assembly. Hand tighten one M8 bolt and nut through the end hole of the leg brace and into the hole of the floor panel. Repeat leg brace steps on the opposite side. Hand tighten M8 bolts and nuts into the 4 remaining holes through the front corner brackets. Tighten all M8 bolts and nuts with spanners. If not yet in final anchoring position, slide a piece of cardboard under each leg footing to easily slide the assembly without scratching the floor. Slide the assembly into final anchoring position. Remove the cardboard. Fasten the bottom braces to the legs with 2 M8 bolts and nuts. Mark hole locations at all 4 corners through the hole of the leg footings into the concrete slab. Carefully move the storage locker to the side as to reveal hole markings on the concrete slab. Use a 12mm masonry drill bit to drill a hole into the concrete slab at the hole marking. Insert an M10 masonry anchor into the hole, using a hammer if required. Fasten the masonry anchor to the floor with the M10 nut. Lower the second M10 nut and remove the top M10 nut. Repeat masonry anchor installation at the 3 remaining marked locations. Fit the leg footings onto the masonry anchors. Turn the lower nuts to adjust the footing heights to account for uneven surface in the floor. Ensure storage locker is level. Fit the bottom brace onto the masonry anchors at both ends. Fasten in place with M10 nuts onto each masonry anchor. Fasten a strut bracket to the left panel using 4 Phillips screws. Repeat strut bracket installation on the right panel. Fasten the gas strut to the strut bracket with the M10 nut included on the gas strut. The hinges on the door panel must slide in between the hinge brackets and top panel. With 2 people holding the door panel, slot the hinge into the hinge bracket at both ends. Have 1 person positioned at the centre, holding the door panel in place. Fasten 1 Phillips screw upwards through the hinge bracket and into the hinge on each side. Continue fastening remaining Phillips screws through the hinge brackets and into the hinges. Fasten the centre hinge to the top panel using 3 Phillips screws. Attach the pull cord to the door panel. The knotted end of the pull cord slots into the door panel bracing. Fit the door handle to the door panel using 2 Phillips screws. From the inside of the door panel, fit the door handle tongue onto the door handle shaft. Ensure the raised end of the door handle tongue can be turned towards the bottom of the door panel. With the door in the open position, fasten the gas struts to the door strut brackets with the M10 nuts on the gas struts.